Welcome to Bite at a Time Books, where we read you your favorite classics one bite at a time. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. You can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. You'll also find our new t-shirts in the shop, including podcast shirts and quote shirts from your favorite classic novels. Be sure to follow my show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear what inspired your favorite classic author to write their novels, and what was going on in the world at the time, check out the Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Today we'll be continuing Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Chapter 23. Orestes fasting, and Palladius drunk. At length, by dint of mounting on each other's backs, aiding themselves with the skeleton of the staircase, climbing up the walls, clinging to the ceiling, slashing away at the very brink of the trapdoor, the last one who offered resistance. A score of assailants, soldiers, National Guardsmen, municipal guardsmen, in utter confusion, the majority disfigured by wounds in the face during that redoubtable ascent, blinded by blood, furious, rendered savage, made an eruption into the apartment on the first floor. There, they found only one man still on his feet. Enjolras. Without cartridges, without sword. He had nothing in his hand now but the barrel of his gun, whose stock he had broken over the head of those who were entering. He had placed the billiard table between his assailants and himself. He had retreated into the corner of the room. And there, with haughty eye and head borne high, with his stump of a weapon in his hand, he was still so alarming as to speedily create an empty space around him. A cry arose. He is the leader. It was he who slew the artilleryman. It is well that he has placed himself there. Let him remain there. Let us shoot him down on the spot. Shoot me, said Enjolras. And flinging away his bit of gun barrel, and folding his arms, he offered his breast. The audacity of a fine death always affects men. As soon as Enjolras folded his arms and accepted his end, the din of strife ceased in the room. And this chaos suddenly stilled into a sort of sepulchral solemnity. The menacing majesty of Enjolras, disarmed and motionless, appeared to oppress this tumult, and this young man, haughty, bloody, and charming, who alone had not a wound, who was as indifferent as an invulnerable being, seemed by the authority of his tranquil glance to constrain the sinister rabble to kill him respectfully. His beauty, at that moment, augmented by his pride, was resplendent, and he was fresh and rosy after the fearful 24 hours which had just elapsed, as though he could no more be fatigued than wounded. It was of him, possibly, that a witness spoke afterwards before the council of war. There was an insurgent whom I heard called Apollo, a National Guardsman who had taken aim at Enjolras, lowered his gun, saying, "It seems to me that I'm about to shoot a flower." 12 men formed into a squad in the corner opposite Enjolras, and silently made ready their guns. Then a sergeant shouted, "Take aim!" An officer intervened. "Wait!" And addressing Enjolras, "Do you wish to have your eyes bandaged?" "No." "Was it you who killed the artillery sergeant?" "Yes." Grantaire had waked up a few moments before. Grantaire, it will be remembered, had been asleep ever since the preceding evening in the upper room of the wine shop, seated on a chair and leaning on the table. He realized, in its fullest sense, the old metaphor of dead drunk. The hideous potion of absinthe porter and alcohol had thrown him into a lethargy. His table being small and not suitable for the barricade, he had been left in possession of it. He was still in the same posture, with his breast bent over the table, his head lying flat on his arms, surrounded by glasses, beer jugs, and bottles. His was the overwhelming slumber of the torpid bear and the satiated leech. Nothing had had any effect upon it. Neither the fusillade, nor the cannonballs, nor the grape shot which had made its way through the window into the room where he was, nor the tremendous uproar of the assault. He merely replied to the cannonade, now and then, by a snore. He seemed to be waiting there for a bullet, which should spare him the trouble of waking. Many corpses were strewn around him, and at the first glance there was nothing to distinguish him from those profound sleepers of death. Noise does not rouse a drunken man. Silence awakens him. The fall of everything around him only augmented Grantaire's prostration. The crumbling of all things was his lullaby. The sort of halt which the tumult underwent in the presence of Enjolras was a shock to this heavy slumber. It had the effect of a carriage going at full speed, which suddenly comes to a dead stop. The persons dozing within it wake up. Grantaire rose to his feet with a start, stretched out his arms, rubbed his eyes, stared, yawned, and understood. A fit of drunkenness, reaching its end, resembles a curtain which is torn away. One beholds, at a single glance and as a whole, all that it has concealed. All suddenly presents itself to the memory, and the drunkard, who has known nothing of what has been taking place during the last 24 hours, has no sooner opened his eyes than he is perfectly informed. Ideas recur to him with abrupt lucidity, the obliteration of intoxication. A sort of steam, which has obscured the brain, is dissipated, and makes way for the clear and sharply outlined importunity of realities. Relegated as he was to one corner, and sheltered behind the billiard table, the soldiers whose eyes were fixed on Enjolras had not even noticed Grantaire, and the sergeant was preparing to repeat his order, "Take aim," when all at once they heard a strong voice shout beside them, "Long live the Republic! I'm one of them!" Grantaire had risen. The immense gleam of the whole combat which he had missed, and in which he had had no part, appeared in the brilliant glance of the transfigured drunken man. He repeated, "Long live the Republic!" crossed the room with a firm stride, and placed himself in front of the guns beside Enjolras. "Finish both of us at one blow," said he. And turning gently to Enjolras, he said to him, "Do you permit it?" Enjolras pressed his hand with a smile. The smile was not ended when the report resounded. Enjolras, pierced by 8 bullets, remained leaning against the wall, as though the balls had nailed him there. Only his head was bowed. Grantaire fell at his feet, as though struck by a thunderbolt. A few moments later, the soldiers dislodged the last remaining insurgents, who had taken refuge at the top of the house. They fired into the attic through a wooden lattice. They fought under the very roof. They flung bodies, some of them still alive, out through the windows. 2 light infantrymen, who tried to lift the shattered omnibus, were slain by 2 shots fired from the attic. A man in a blouse was flung down from it, with a bayonet wound in the abdomen, and breathed his last on the ground. A soldier and an insurgent slipped together on the sloping slates of the roof, and as they would not release each other, they fell, clasped in a ferocious embrace. A similar conflict went on in the cellar. Shouts, shots, a fierce trampling, and silence. The barricade was captured. The soldiers began to search the houses round about and to pursue the fugitives. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books today, while we read a bite of one of your favorite classics. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you come back tomorrow for the next bite of Les Miserables. Don't forget, you can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. And while you're there, check out our t-shirt shop. You can look in the show notes or on our website, biteatatimebooks.com, for the rest of the links for our show. We'd love to hear from you on social media. You can find us everywhere at Bite at a Time Books.
Time.